The girls have been asking, and I think it's time I spill the tea. So this is why I am leaving my engineering career in the dust. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm back, and I'm reusing this cup because we still sustainable out here. I know you're thinking, girl, you started this whole platform off of being a biomedical engineer. Why are you leaving? Child, Listen, if you're new here, I'm India, but you can call me BME Queen. And I started being a content creator based on my experiences in biomedical engineering, BME Queen. In this video, I'm gonna talk about why I originally pursued engineering, my experiences in the engineering field, and then what I plan to do now that I'm no longer a working engineer. I just want to get into why I even pursued this career path in the first place. I grew up in a middle class background where I was one of the first people in my family to go to college. I was, I guess, convinced to go after a career that was stable. I have always been good at math and science, and I decided, well, why not go into engineering? I could have a high-paying career, I could live very comfortably, and I would have a stable life. I majored in biomedical engineering in college where I got my bachelor's, and after undergrad, I decided to continue to pursue more degrees in engineering, although I really didn't need to. I decided to go to graduate school to get a PhD, and that's when I started making content about my life as an engineer. I wanted to get a PhD because one of the jobs that I was really interested in doing at the time was being a manager of benchtop scientists. I knew I didn't want to be in a lab, but I wanted to be in charge of the people that were doing the experiments because I thought that doing experiments was really cool. So I decided to do a PhD, and my field was focused in drug delivery within the biomedical engineering umbrella. I went into graduate school thinking that I was going to get my degree, live this happy, beautiful life, and be great. When I started graduate school, it was okay. I was working a very intense schedule. I would leave my house at 7 a.m. and I wasn't coming back until like 8, 9 p.m. every single day. My place that I stayed at was strictly for utility. It was only for me to sleep and sometimes eat, and even then I wasn't really eating that much. And then the pandemic happened. I spent a lot of time at home, and I spent a lot more time exploring my hobbies and other creative things that I didn't have the time to pursue while I was working. When it was time for me to return back to work, I realized that I actually really hated working in the lab. I didn't like the construct of having to go to a lab every single day to do work when I knew that people were working from home. I also started to create content at this time, and I was talking about my personal experiences in the engineering field. Now, this part is all about my personal experiences. This triggers you or sounds familiar, probably because it is, but I'm just talking about my experiences for the sake of this video. I started creating content. I started to meet other Black scientists and Black engineers in the field and started to make friends. And I quickly realized that there were a lot of things going on in the field that I just did not agree with. On top of gender pay gap and racial pay gap, a lot of the politics that went on in academia and then also in the industry just really didn't align with me. That was the initial light bulb that maybe I should look into other career paths that weren't in academia or in the typical industry pathway. As I continue my PhD, my experiences really piled up to where I just didn't even want to be in the field anymore. I didn't have the best relationship with some of the people that I worked with, and the work environment was pretty toxic, like bad. There were a lot of things that happened throughout my PhD that I didn't feel genuinely supported. I didn't feel like I was around a lot of authentic people that supported what I wanted to do with my career. At the time was to look into other career paths that weren't industry or academia. Also felt like I was in some ways being targeted for being a content creator. There were different instances where my content was reported to different people within my department and within my workspace. I was incredibly uncomfortable with, and it was across multiple platforms, so it wasn't even like I could just block people on 1 or 2 platforms. And then as I started to work more and more to make progress in my PhD, there were some roadblocks that were intentionally put up for me. There were people that really had it out for me. Didn't want to see me progress, didn't want to see me do well. Like that I was getting attention online for being outspoken or for being a, strong woman in the field. I got a lot of negative feedback and a lot of discouragement from people that were higher up in the field and could in some ways play a role in my future career path. Aside from just being a Black woman in STEM, which brings its own challenges, there were a lot of instances where I was being sought out for different diversity opportunities. I wasn't getting the support that I actually needed in my own career. So in that way, I felt like I was just largely unsupported. And the thing is, a lot of people wouldn't really know that because a lot of the support that I received was public, although behind closed doors, that isn't what was happening. At this point, I decided that I was going to take my career in my own hands and start to pursue other jobs, tech or within consulting that I could do aside from doing the traditional academic or industry related engineering jobs. I didn't share this part of my career path on social media when I was going through it because of the pandemic. There were a lot of people that were being laid off, that couldn't find jobs, or that were having a really hard time making ends meet. And I was getting opportunities to work at big tech companies, 3 of the largest consulting firms that people would have died to have. Opportunities that I was being given were very high price, high tag, high compensation jobs, but ultimately I did not like any of them. In an effort to not be tone deaf on my platform, I just didn't share about it at all. But I did have interviews at McKinsey. I had an interview at BCG, which I ended up canceling. I did look into different careers within tech. I did a ton of informational interviews with people that had those positions and asked them tons of questions to figure out if it would be a job for me. I didn't like the concept of working for someone else. In the end, after about 6 months of me looking at so many different jobs, both on YouTube and with people and contacting people and setting up meetings with people, I decided that I was going to pursue an entrepreneurial path. The way I came to the decision was kind of backwards because I didn't originally intend or set out to be a content creator full-time. Content creation was something I always did on the side and I just enjoyed doing, and I enjoyed sharing my life with people and my experiences with my audience. But when I started making content, I didn't know that you can make money from this. So I was looking for different jobs and setting up those informational interviews and trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was making money on the side from content creation. And it got to the point where I was making more money from content than I was from graduate school, which isn't a lot, by the way, but like it was motivational. I was making more money and I thought, hey, why not continue to pursue this and see if I could turn this into something that was more full-time. I gave myself a set goal of like, I need to make X amount of dollars in 3 months from content, and if I can do that, then I will do this full-time. With that being said, I worked my butt off to make that goal. If you've been following me for a while, either on TikTok or on Instagram or Pinterest, I'm new to YouTube, but if you've been following me for a while, then you've probably seen I am very consistent, I'm very scheduled, there's always content going out. Like I was a content machine, just pushing it out all the time. In some ways, I was not doing some of my graduate school work just so I could get the content out and prove to myself that I could do this. But it really paid off in that I showed myself that if I really did apply myself on this part-time schedule, that I could still meet the financial goals that I wanted and to live the life that I knew I wanted. Speaking of life that I knew I wanted, I have always wanted to live in Los Angeles. Visited here in 2012 for a marching band school trip, and I loved LA. The moment I set foot in LA, I was like, this is it. I need to live here. Coming from Delaware, I knew that it was going to be way more expensive to live in Los Angeles than what my current expenses were. So I ended up saving a ton of money that I made from content creation and put it all away so that I could eventually move out to LA. Now, I didn't know when I was going to move. I just knew that I was going to live here at some point after my graduate career. Really pushed me to come out here was the fact that I was turning down opportunities within content creation to keep my full-time graduate student position that really wasn't paying much of anything. There were times where I had to go to the lab instead of going to an event that I really wanted to do, or I had to go to a meeting instead of answering emails that were for huge opportunities that were under a time crunch. I really had to make a decision of what am I gonna do and how am I gonna do it. It came down to me being a full-time content creator now. I'm really happy with my decision, although I know that I'm probably not gonna use my PhD for anything. Graduate school did allow me the opportunity to build my brand and to start this content creation journey. Because the job was so flexible and I didn't have to necessarily clock in, I did have time to explore my own true hobbies and my personal interests, and that is what led me to where I am today. In some ways, I am very happy that I've had the opportunity to become a full-time content creator. In some ways, I also feel like I am disappointing some of my followers that really looked up to me for being an engineer. Ultimately, I know that I have to live for myself and I have to do things for myself. So if I were to have stayed in engineering, I know I would not have been happy, and I want to be able to continue to create content and to do the things that I truly love. So even though I feel like I am disappointing some people by not staying in the engineering field, I feel like it's way more important for me to do what I need for myself and to live the life that I have always dreamt of. I'm super happy to be here. I am going to be vlogging so much. I have so many plans. I am going to be defending my PhD in the near future. I'm still, writing my dissertation and working on some last of the PhD work, but I really hope that you guys stick around and we'll see some of the adventures that I go on and some of the travels that I have planned and where my life takes me. I know it's going to be interesting. I know it's going to be a whirlwind, but I am so incredibly excited, and I haven't felt this excited about work-related things in so long. So I hope you stick around and subscribe to see me later. Bye.